Hello, friends, and thank you for listening. Just a heads up that this episode contains content with respect to mental health and mental health issues. If that is something that is distressing to you, feel free to skip this episode or find more links linked below. Welcome to the New Union Frontier, La Nouvelle Frontière Syndicale, a podcast that brings you the latest news from CIU, the Customs and Immigration Union, from victories to challenges and everything in between. I'm Amanda, and this podcast was made for you, our members, to keep you informed, engaged, and empowered. And if you're not a member, don't worry, we'll be happy to have you along for the ride. Nous sommes là pour veiller à ce que vous restiez en contact avec votre syndicat et que vous sachiez ce qui se passe à chaque étape. C'est un plaisir de vous avoir avec nous. Now let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of our podcast. We're here today with Rick Savage, one of our executives. Hi, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing good, Amanda. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. First and foremost, who are you? What brings you here today?
As you pointed out, my name is Rick Savage. I'm the first national vice president of the Customs and Immigration Union.
Fun. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in today. How long have you been part of the union?
I've been part of the union, I believe, since 2011 when I became a steward out at in Pacific Highway traffic is where I worked at that time there.
Out in BC?
Out in BC.
Nice.
Yeah, beautiful BC.
Gorgeous place out there. What brings you to the CBSA? What led you down that path as a career path?
I came into the CBSA a little later. It's kind of my second career. First career, I served just shy of 7 years in the Canadian military.
Oh, interesting.
Served with the 3rd Battalion PPCLI. Maybe people also don't know, I'm also a qualified paratrooper.
Fun.
Yes. So after I got out, right after my tour in Afghanistan, that would have been in 2002, I applied for the CBSA, and it took me another 5 years to get in. I was hired in 2007.
Oh, wow.
So I went through a few hiring processes before they finally saw the light and hired me.
Good for them. Glad they finally changed their mind on that one. What brought you to CBSA? What made you choose them specifically?
I've always liked the law enforcement aspect of jobs. When I went to the military as an infantier, which is not necessarily law enforcement, but it's still, it's, I think I have a strong desire to protect, and I do love the country and I want to protect the security of it. So I thought that the CBSA was just an offshoot, kind of a continuation of my career in the military, but instead protecting Canadians at home rather than abroad.
Perfect. So that's how you got into the CBSA. What led you to get involved with the union itself?
Pretty much the same thing that got me into the military or in the CBSA is one of the things I don't like is bullies. And I found that the CBSA management style is quite what I consider like 1950-ish is like kind of a bullying style. So I got involved in the union, I believe, in 2009 when I became a steward, right after I'd finished my probation. Then I ran for first vice president of my local. That's branch 20045. Shout out to BC Southern there. And then I had the opportunity to run as the fourth national vice president in 2017, I believe. Luckily enough, I was voted in. And then since then, I've ran up the board a little. I ran as the first national vice president when Mark ran for president for his first term. And happily, I was acclaimed for the second. So this is my second stint as the first national vice president.
That was interesting boards when you guys were acclaimed. It was one of the only times that all the national execs were acclaimed. It's
board and elections are always stress inducing, but this one after that, it was, and I think it was quite a strong mandate. And it tells the character of Mark as the president and the rest of the national executive.
Exactly. But what do you do as first national vice president?
As first national vice president, my main job, I believe, is the health and safety portfolio. So I sit as co-chair of the Policy Health and Safety Committee, where we meet with the CBSA on health and safety issues that affect nationally. At the policy wonk level, where we discuss and to ensure that everything that's being done through policy-wide or nationally is done correctly and healthily and safely.
That's a good way to do it.
Yes.
All right. Now we got a couple of rapid fire questions here for you. We'll just go real quick. Coffee or tea?
Oh, definitely coffee.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars versus original, Star Trek Next Generation over Star Wars.
Fair. Nuanced. Favorite ocean, Pacific, Atlantic,
Got to be the
Arctic?
Pacific. Is there any other better one? Is there a better one?
Fair enough. I don't know. I'm more of a lake person. Grew up on Lake Ontario, so
I grew up with the
confuse
ocean there, the Pacific Ocean. So
fair. And what is one thing that people may not know about your role for First VP and that role in health and safety?
I think the only thing really that people may not know about that specific role is that it's not necessarily a union role. It is the union under health and safety legislation. To be on a health and safety committee, including the policy, you do not actually need to be a union official or voted in. It's if you have a passion to be on health and safety, that's kind of what some people may not find. The union does have a role in that. Is the union actually the union selects who goes on the committees, but they don't necessarily have to be an elected representative. So that's kind of maybe the only thing I think that might be some people may not know about that.
Oh, interesting. And what would that mean for the local members?
Well, that means if a local member has a passion or really is interested in health and safety and improving the workplace through that, you don't necessarily have to run as a steward or to be elected as a union rep, because it is unfortunate that a lot of people don't want to put their head up sometimes, in which case management will, management has a tendency to come after union reps occasionally. So a lot of people, I'm not so much scared, but they want to be more of there's a term in the military called a gray man, right? You
don't want to stir the pot.
You don't want to stir the pot. But health and safety, if you want to help health and safety, you don't have to stir the pot, because it is a joint consultative committee where you meet with management. And when it works correctly, is really a useful tool for us to improve health and safety conditions for our members.
Because I believe some of those boards exist even at non-unionized workplaces, like occupational health and safety is something that's
occupational
available.
Health and safety is outside of the collective agreement. It's outside of any of that. It's a mandatory. So any federal worker would work under Canadian Labour Code Part 2, and any provincial worker would work under the relevant provincial legislation for health and safety. They're all pretty much similar. Yeah.
Interesting. Was there much difference between what you do nationally versus what's kind of specific to BC, or any differences you might have seen?
Well, yeah. When you run nationally, you find that you're taking away. Like, one of my passions when I was first VP is I had the grievance portfolio.
Right.
I love arguing grievances. I like preparing them. I have a mind, I guess, I enjoy reading case studies or case law. So I enjoy putting those all together. It is unfortunate that you could essentially be Clarence Darrow there. Clarence Darrow, what was that famous lawyer's name with the CBSA? And they still will just say no. So it was rather frustrating, but it's still, I love doing it, because you're right there representing the members beside you when you're presenting the grievance. That's something you miss kind of when you get up to the national level.
And it's like challenging and I don't want to say entertaining, because it's not necessarily entertaining, but it's challenging.
Some grievances can be entertaining even, yes. They're not all about doom and gloom. So I can't remember any specifically, but I do know that even the griever and I have had some fun with management when we've been presenting.
So if you were to be prime minister for a day, what is the first thing you would do to improve workplace health and safety for officers? Oh,
wow. That's an interesting question. That kind of, I think one of the growing issues within health and safety is mental health, and is not given the recognition as of yet, because it's very easy to see if somebody has a broken arm, but when you have an issue with mental health, it's not so obvious. So I think as Prime Minister of the day, I would probably put some more funding into the research that's going to be required in order for us to properly assess mental health through the whole occupational health and safety lens.
Fascinating. I think that's a good idea. Good initiative. I would put my vote behind that. As mental health tends to be a more serious topic, we can go more in depth on our deeper dives here. How do you see mental health fitting into the broader safety conversation at CBSA?
That's a great question. That's something that we're actively working on, both at the Policy Health and Safety Committee, as well as we have established a mental health subcommittee of the Policy Health and Safety Committee. And it's a challenging one, especially when it comes to law enforcement. Similar to the military, the law enforcement have long histories of basically saying, suck it up, buttercup, to any sort of injury, let alone one that you may not be able to see. And a lot of people, I guess, don't know about a lot of the jobs that we do. Like we have units that search for child pornography. That is a very stressful and traumatic incident to see that. We have members who are escorting removals from all over the world, traveling, up to 24 hours a day. That's something else that we're dealing with in fatigue. But and then a friend of mine he used a term called slow burn of stress for our frontline. Most of our frontline officers at airports are POEs or land POEs, because you don't know what's coming next. Like, most of the time nothing's going to happen, but we are trained in the use of tools. We're trained in the use of firearms and the use of force for a reason. So that slow burn, it does affect you mentally.
It's kind of like being in fight or flight for your whole shift, like just while you anticipate the next person.
Kind of, yeah. It's small. It's like the, when you hold a glass, if I hold this glass of water, right? Like it's
not too bad right now, but 8 hours.
But 8 hours later, my hand, I'm going to be dropping this.
Yeah,
so
fair.
I think that's a kind of an apt description of that. And that's why getting the 25 and out pension reform is so important to us, because it just allows our members to be able to get out of that slow burn a lot quicker, like the rest of law enforcement does in Canada. One of the, not the biggest issue, but a great concern for our members is the removal of the firearm. The CBSA, since the inception of carrying the duty firearm, has been very paranoid about the officers having them. So what they tend to do is they tend to use broad strokes or broad acts. A great example that I have is so early on in my career, I think it was 2012, a member at another POE went up to management after he had dealt with somebody dying on him in primary. The person had a heart attack. He had attempted CPR, and the person unfortunately passed away. So he was obviously feeling a little bit, needed a break. So he asked for a little bit of mental health leave.
That makes sense to me.
Makes sense to him. They took his gun away.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. Like there may be cases, and there is cases, and I can't disagree, under health and safety, where the removal of firearm would be the correct from a health and safety point of view, and for a mental health point of view, there is cases like that. But unfortunately, at least at the start, the CBSA has not had the nuance to establish between somebody who may
poses a
risk as opposed to someone that just needs a break and needs to go off the line. And unfortunately, with their system of getting the gun back, it takes, I believe this was one of the quickest ones at that time, and I think it took 6 to 7 months.
Wow.
Now, the problem was this was also a trainer who worked and got overtime by training people in the use of the firearm, and when he doesn't have his firearm, he couldn't get OT.
Was he able to continue doing his day-to-day job, or was that changed?
Well, no, his day-to-day job changes as well, because if you're not carrying the proper protective equipment, you can't do the full duties of the position. You have to be put in a place where you can do what you can do safely.
Is that compounded by understaffing at the ports as well?
Oh, everything is compounded by understaffing at the ports.
Given all that context on the workplace and the potential harms to mental health working there, what is one thing that members can do today to protect their own mental health and to get involved in keeping the safe workplace that they work in? Oh, two different questions there.
Fair. Yes. To protect your own mental health is if you have issues, you need to speak to someone. We have EAP programs. There's no shame in talking to people. If you talk to your peers, we have the CBSA has, I'm blanking on the name right now, but they have a peer network where you can reach out to speak to people about that, and not be afraid to put your hand and go, yeah, no, I think I'm having an issue here. And and basically to treat it no differently than you would treat a broken leg. If you have a broken leg, you're going to take the time off. You're going to heal. Mental trauma is no different than a mental leg, than a broken leg. And I think that's what our members can do to help themselves through that. Second of all is to participate. So the health and safety, there's 3 very important things to know: the right to know, the right to participate, and the right to refuse unsafe work. So the right to know is get involved in, read the legislation, read the safety briefs, even though I know that they're one of 100 or 50 emails that you all have to read, but read any of those. Participate. If you don't have a fully functioning health and safety committee, volunteer to step up and join it. Be the co-chair, help out on health and safety issues. It'll make a big difference. And to go back to that leg analogy, Amanda, is when you have a broken leg, a doctor will give you a rough, well, not an estimate, usually to the day. The medicine has been so advanced now that it's going to take you 6 months to heal, and 6 months before you can return to work. You don't have that with mental health. So the people have the tendency to rush back from mental health trauma. And the thing to do that is don't. Utilize the provisions of the contract that we have. Use the leave that you have. If you run out of leave, there's other mechanisms that the union can help you with, whether or not they're accommodations, assisting in getting EI or disability or anything like that. But the thing is, you need to take care of yourself.
And what does a safe workplace really mean in the CBSA context or in your context?
In my context, a safe workplace is where everybody goes home and they're safe and they're not hurt. It is slightly more challenging, I think, with a law enforcement aspect, because a lot of people have to remember that danger is a condition of our employment. And the reason that we do carry the defensive tools and the firearm is because those are for us to utilize in a defensive position. It's personal protective equipment that we have. But yeah, as long as everyone goes home at the end of the day, I think that's a good day.
And what's the best advice you've ever received about being a union rep?
I think the best advice I got was from my father, who was a longtime union leader. And I guess we can edit this out if it's not allowed, but he basically says, don't let the bastards get you down.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I see giggles. I hope it stays
referring
in.
to management, of course. Yes.
And what about working in a high-risk environment like the CBSA? What's the best advice you've received on keeping yourself safe and others?
That's an interesting question. I'm trying to remember back through what advice that I've gotten for that is that, I mix a lot of this with the military. And the military is keep your head in a swivel, but I don't want it you don't really, in a lot of our positions, you don't need to keep your head in a swivel. If you do that, you'll drive yourself insane. So best advice that I think I've ever received and can give is that you always need to be situationally aware. You need to be aware of what's going around in front of you, behind you, beside you, up and down. Just be aware of everything that's going on.
And even inside, too. Yes. Inside yourself, too.
No, that's a good point. Even for back to the point of mental health and mental trauma. Yes.
What have you learned from working in this field that people should know, especially the newer members coming into the job? Don't let the bastards get you down.
No, I'm thinking of a better answer than that. I'm thinking of the one thing that I can tell the members or new people and all that is our grievance process is horribly, horribly slow, and it's a broken system, but it eventually works. When you have a valid grievance at the national level, we get a lot of things that people don't know because there's, the CBSA is sometimes prone to settle grievances at that level, which usually comes with a confidentiality clause about the settlement. But my advice would be is that, yes, it's slow. We know that. But still, if something is wrong, if they're breaking the collective agreement, grieve it. We can always get stuff for you, eventually.
Why should members tune into this podcast?
A lot of the problems that we have with the union and a lot of the things that come up through every set is communication. Is the union doesn't communicate enough. The union doesn't disseminate information to its members. So this is an excellent way because I'm old school, so I would read, a newsletter where we used to produce, but this is obviously the new form of that. So I think this is a great way to get people interested, a great way to people to get some information, even if it's just a starter information. Then obviously go to our website to get anything further, or talk to your stewards, talk to your branch presidents, and get more information from them.
I know I'm one for putting on a podcast and then doing my chores or errands, so I prefer listening to the information. So hopefully this is
hopefully this will be work. I think it's a good idea, and I think it's going to be great. So,
and now the floor is all yours. Anything you'd like to shout out, pitch? Let us know your YouTube handle.
No, I don't have those. I think if I could just maybe end this with anything is that this is the rights on health and safety. You have the right to know, you have the right to participate, and you have the right to refuse work. Anything that is unsafe, you have those three rights in health and safety. If you are unsure of how to exercise your rights on those, once again, you can contact your branch presidents, contact your stewards, contact the national office. Our website actually has some great how-tos especially for work refusals, how you can do those, as well as 127 complaints which is an internal mechanism of complaints under the Health and Safety Code.
All right. Well, that was awesome. I've learned a lot today. Thank you so much for coming in, Rick.
Well, thank you for having me.
We want to hear from you and talk about what's important to you. If you have any topics you'd like us to cover or simply want to provide feedback about the podcast, please reach out to us at podcast@CIU-SDI.ca. Keep in mind that if you send us a voice memo, we can use it on air. We also have an upcoming contest if you'd like to write to us at contest@CIU-SDI.ca. We are looking for the most egregious member-to-management ratio. Is your local particularly crazy? Let us know how many managers you have to members, and maybe you'll win. To stay up to date on all things CIU, including our news and social media, please check out our website at CIU-SDI.ca to stay up to date on our new posts and social media posts. Thanks for tuning in to the new Union Frontier, la nouvelle frontière syndicale. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and follow us in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an update. Got questions or any topics you'd like us to cover? Send them our way. We can be reached at comms@CIU-SDI.ca. I'm Amanda, and we'll catch you on our next episode. Stay informed and restez solidaires.